the middle of Detroit Rock City is a guitar solo. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Ezrin literally came in and he turned to Ace and says, okay, the guys are going to stop playing chords, just going to have the drums going, and you're going to play.
What do you think are your best bass lines? The one that I'm specifically really curious about is Detroit Rock City. That is such a funky bass line. Did Bob Ezrin work with you on that? Did you just come up with the kind of fills in the verse?
On
How did
Destroy, on
how,
Destroyer.
on Destroyer? Yeah,
Yes, I know, I know.
yeah,
On
yeah,
a Destroyer, unlike any other record that we ever did, Ezrin had a big hand in arranging and suggesting parts. As an example, the middle of Detroit Rock City is a guitar solo, not so much a solo, but kind of a theme. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da, which almost sounds flamenco-ish, doesn't sound like blues. And so when we were rehearsing Detroit Rock City, Ezrin literally came in and he turned to Ace and says, okay, the guys are going to stop playing chords and we're just going to have the drums going and you're going to play this. And he hummed the actual note for note, including the harmony. That was all Ezra. And then he said, Gene, how about this? I said, wait a minute, that's Freddie's Dead by Curtis Mayfield. It goes, ba-dum bum, ba-dum bum, ba-dum bum, da-da-da-da-da, which is part of the bass riff. And it certainly isn't rock. And we certainly didn't fool around with funky stuff. And yet, there it is. That was Bob Ezrin's idea, unlike any other record. I mean, more Detroit Rock City than almost any of the songs, any of the rest of the songs. But on that one, it's Ezrin all over it.
How did you guys make the decision as a band to tune everything down a half step? Was that obvious, or was that like a revelation?
Well, unlike other bands, we were running around on stage on 7 and 8 inch platform heels. And the weight and the physicality of doing this stuff, you're constantly out of breath. I don't know if you saw early videos of stuff, all those moves, the back and forth and the stuff. And, it was a very physically demanding show. And so what we started to notice, and you're screaming, you're trying to push. And we noticed early on that our voices started to go. If you tune A440, which musicians will understand, it's the higher key that's predominantly. So if you say the E string, there is an actual E note. And so we started to detune half a step down. So all the strings on the guitar went up, but we all went down half a step so we could reach the high notes. And by the time we quit, we actually tuned down a full step. So an E was actually a D. So if you tried to play along, I mean, we would be playing on our instruments an E chord, but if you tried to play along with us, you'd notice that we were actually playing D.
Right.
I know people don't understand what that means, but yes, we detuned the instruments so that our voices wouldn't break.
Don't you think it gives the instruments a little bit of a different sound or makes them sound a little bit darker, maybe?
It does.
It definitely does, I think, right? I mean,
Well, not only
yeah.
we started doing that before there was a thing called quote metal or the Seattle stuff. We just did it to save our voices, and then it became commonplace. So when you hear Metallica and everybody else, they're detuned because it sounds,
Van
you know,
Halen. Yeah.
thicker and bigger. Oh yes, I know that band.
Right, right. Were they detuned when you first saw them? They must have been, right? Or were they
I
not?
I didn't know it originally because there's just Eddie and just one guitar, one bass, and I didn't. It's a funny story. Van Halen was first after I produced their demo and all that. They were signed to me exclusively, but of course then they got a record deal and all turned out well. And They're headlining Nassau Coliseum for the first time, and I'm backstage, and actually off in the car there was Joey Ramone and some other people who wanted to check them out. And Eddie's got the guitar around his neck, and they don't go on for another 15, 20 minutes. So I said, Eddie, let me see that guitar, because Eddie put that guitar together, glued on the neck that he liked to a certain body. It was kind of like a Frankenstein monster put together. And so when I put it around my neck and tried playing a chord, it was completely out of tune. And I'm not exaggerating. I said, hey, you better go and tune this up before you hit the stage. You go, oh, no, 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 man, don't worry. He put the guitar on his shoulders and then played a chord and bent the neck in tune. So that neck had some movement on it. And anybody else playing that instrument would sound horrible on it. And yet when Eddie played on it, it sounded perfectly in tune.
God, that's crazy.
It sure is.